music and performance. So now we arrive at the graduation address, which gives us the opportunity to hear from a distinguished member of our alumni community. And fortunate are we today, and many of you will know him, that the address will be delivered by Dr. Luke Robinson. Dr. Robinson is a senior lecturer in the Department of Occupational Therapy here at Monash and combines his passion for teaching with a commitment to advancing the field and inspiring the next generation of occupational therapists. Early in his career, he gained experience in public health, providing hand therapy services at various hospitals, and always busy. Transitioning to academia, he became a full-time lecturer just prior to COVID and currently coordinates fourth year level of the Bachelor of Occupational Therapy Honours program. His doctoral research, completed 4 years ago and supported by the Australian Postgraduate Award, explored individual, community and societal burden following acute hand and wrist injury. Dr. Robinson has published extensively, is actively involved in research and many professional committees, focusing on rehabilitation of hand and wrist injuries, health economics and occupational therapy education. So with that very brief address and knowing that many of you will know Dr. Robinson, I invite him to present your graduation address.
Deputy Chancellor, the Honourable Peter Young, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Mike Ryan, Professor Carla Wilkins, Terry Haynes and Wayne Hodgson, members of faculty, distinguished guests, proud family and friends, and especially the new graduates. It's such a pleasure and privilege to be here with you all today. Thank you for allowing me to share a few words at a moment that marks the end of one chapter for all of today's graduates and the beginning of something extraordinary as they embark in the next stage of their professional journey. Today, I'd like to talk about communication, not just what we say, but how we say it, and how our words must align with what we do. I want to reflect on the enormous privilege it is when someone trusts us enough to share in their story, and how clear, kind, and curious communication makes all the difference. To explain why this matters so much to me, I need to share some of my story. And I acknowledge that some of the materials that I will present this evening may elicit an emotional response in some of the members of the audience, so if you do need to go look after yourselves outside, please feel free to do so. When I was 17 years old in the 5th week of my Year 12 studies, I was in a car accident. I was sitting behind the driver who pulled out in front of a 4-wheel drive with a bull bar doing 100 kilometres an hour. The car struck just behind my head, tearing open the back of the car and spinning us around several times. The early responders told my family that I was one of the very lucky ones who had survived such a scene. I am forever grateful to the paramedics who rushed to the scene, cared for me, provided my family with information support, and ensured that their well-being was considered. I sustained a moderate brain injury and a brachial plexus injury, amongst various short and long-term impairments. I have no memory of close to 3 months of my life. The medical team told my parents not to expect too much from me in the earlier periods after the accident due to the swelling and bleeding in my brain. While I was not part of these early conversations, the words and how they were bluntly delivered deeply impacted my parents. Fortunately for me, they took an optimistic view and were, and still are, my biggest cheerleaders alongside my wife, who I met a few years after my accident. Now, before the accident, I was the student who could half listen in class and still know what was happening when a teacher asked me about something that was being discussed in the classroom and I was talking to my friend. It was a gift, I thought. Now, I realise it was a nightmare for my teachers, and as an educator today, I can fully appreciate their pain when you think someone's not listening and then they have the answer. After the accident, that ability vanished. I had to relearn how to learn a result of my brain injury. Concentration, memory, and reasoning had to be rebuilt from scratch. And physically, the injury to my brachial plexus, where the nerve in my arm has been severely damaged, meant that I lost significant movement in my right arm and have lived with chronic pain for over 20 years now. While I was able to recover some movement, I am still quite limited and it impacts my daily functioning. What stands out for me during this time in my life, even now as I stand on this stage, are the words. The words people chose or at times didn't choose. Words that comforted, inspired and guided me, or words that confused, angered or frightened me. To me, from my perspective, some health professionals appeared to treat me like a diagnosis, a line in their diary, a piece of data or a rehab plan on a piece of paper. But others, and I remember them so vividly, treated me like a person in need of help in a time of vulnerability and need. One event during my ongoing rehab and recovery underscores this experience. At the end of my first year of rehab, I told a medical professional that I wanted to return and finish all my Year 12 studies the year after my accident. At this point in my recovery, I was still heavily impacted by my injuries. I had memory issues, light sensitivity, nausea when I required concentration, dizziness, extreme fatigue and horrible nerve pain. The medical professional looked me directly in the eyes and said, "You're an idiot." They said, "Luke, you are an idiot for wanting to do that. You will not be able to do that." For some people, a moment like that, especially coming from someone in a position of power, would have been enough to make them let go of their dreams and aspirations. Such an imbalance of power between health professionals and patients can be significant, especially when someone is at their most vulnerable. Thankfully, that person was not the only one involved in my care, and those words ignited a fire in my belly to prove them wrong. I had an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a speech pathologist, and incredible nurses whom I'd met as an inpatient who showed me what real healthcare and communication look like. They asked me why did I want to return to Year 12 and complete it in 1 year. They listened. They acknowledged the challenges and were transparent about the potential impacts or realities, but they didn't dismiss me, they empowered me. They spoke with clarity, kindness and curiosity. They recognised the barriers and stood beside me to break them down. They worked with me and my family to achieve my goals, even if they seemed too great or unachievable. Because of these amazing human beings, not just their actions, but the way that they communicated those actions, I did go back. I completed Year 12 in 1 year. I continued my rehab journey whilst I was studying Year 12. I had the most amazing cheerleaders who would help me tackle this week's challenge or barrier. They weren't afraid to have difficult conversations with me, but they were clear with their messages. They were always kind, giving me so much of their energy to help achieve my goal. And they were always curious, asking me why, how come? Tell me a little bit more about that. As a result of lots of hard work and endless support from my health professional team and also my family, I sat my Year 12 exams that year and achieved an ATAR in the 90s. I remember getting my results and getting over the initial shock as I dropped my computer and crying happy tears, but I had to call each of my rehab team to tell them what we had achieved together. That's when I understood communication isn't just part of care, it is care. It taught me how much our words matter and how easily they can either limit or lift someone. I also learnt what I wanted to do with my life, enter the healthcare workforce and help people return to what it is that is meaningful to them and important to them as an occupational therapist. Graduates, the people you care for in your professional careers will let you into some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. That is an honour. It's also a responsibility because your words matter. Through my patient experience and also my time as a therapist providing services in the public health system, I've learnt about and now teach the importance of clear, kind and curious communication. Clear because people need to know what is happening to them and not be left wondering, confused or with unanswered questions. Kind because people remember how you made them feel long after they forget your name. And curious because every person's story is different. Ask questions. Be interested in people's stories. Ask them about their feelings, experiences, or their goals and aspirations. If we forget to be curious, we miss the most important parts, which can lead to misunderstandings or potentially incorrect assumptions. As you step into your roles as healthcare professionals, you will meet people at their most vulnerable, in pain, fear, grief, and at times when all hope seems lost. And some of them will let you in. They will show you their worries, their scars, their dreams. They will trust you with their truth. And that trust is a privilege, it is not a given. It's something that you earn moment by how you listen, how you speak, and how you show up. Because here's the thing, people can tell. They know when your words are just words. They also know when they're genuine. So your actions must always echo your language. If you say care, then be present. If you say I'm listening, then really listen and not look at your watch or think about the next task. And if you say you matter, then ensure your care and actions reflect it. I've had the absolute privilege of working with incredible healthcare teams, both as a patient and also as a therapist, and I've seen what it looks like when words and action align. It creates safety, builds trust, transforms outcomes, and changes lives. But I've also seen the cost when they don't. So I want to leave this final message to you as you embark on the next chapter of your professional journey. Let your communication be clear, kind, and curious. Let your actions reflect your values and also those of your given profession. And never forget the privilege and impact of being part of someone's story. You all have the potential to make extraordinary differences in people's lives. You have all chosen a path that can be extremely rewarding and fulfilling, and you all have the chance to be that one person who helps someone to where they're meant to be. To the graduates all around me, my heartfelt congratulations. It took a lot of hard work, persistence, for some of you late nights, for some of you early mornings, to be able to stand on this stage today, one of the proudest moments of your life, I hope. Be proud in all that you've achieved, reflect on all that you've learnt, and I want you to be excited about all that learning that is still to come. To all of you, go forward with courage, compassion, and the commitment to mean what you say and show it in what you do. Thank you.
Can I just pause for a moment to, on behalf of everyone in the auditorium, I am sure, thank Dr. Robinson for the address, for what was very personal and very inspiring. I could see how the attention of every graduate that I could see, not having the ability to see the doctorate candidates or graduates behind me, but that was truly a life story, inspiring, relating to communication and how to deal with patients and those who need the care that you've trained for. I've heard many graduation addresses, but I must say that hit the mark absolutely. So congratulations.